Uh, Guys, I sent you an invite. Did you receive it?
Hey there, Sam. Have you got us there today?
Hey, Gordon. Uh, I sent out an invite. I don't know why you didn't get it.
Okay, have you got?
Can you see the one I sent just now for co-host? And Nata, please request to speak so I can add you again.
If you could resend that co-host, that'd be great. I didn't see that.
Okay, I can see Nata now.
I might just jump down, Sam, and come back on again.
No, just request as a co-host. Oh, let me send it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Morning,
Nita.
Nata. Can you hear us?
I can hear you fine now. I just dropped down and then came back up.
Oh, okay. Thank you for comment. So, the the thing that happened is Alex sent an email just 5 minutes that they won't be able to show up, that we should reschedule. So we had to change the name of the space.
Oh, wow,
So
that's
now we're
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's all good.
sorry.
I said that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Nice,
So
Sam.
we're going to reschedule till next week. Gordon.
Yeah, sure. So, Connector down there, Connector's building a project in Australia. You can invite him up to speak. He's
Yeah,
only got.
connected. Just send a request. I will accept right now. Let me see. Okay, yeah, great.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Are you well?
We're good. We're good.
Hi,
So,
Good morning.
hi,
sorry.
hi, Connector. Great to have you jump in. Just to introduce you to some of our Australian team that are building out Stacks Australia. I've got Nieta and Sam here. Sam's our weekly Twitter host.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to start connect up the Australian community. We host the spaces every Friday morning, 9:30 a.m.
Yep.
Oh, we always have a targeted guest speaker or project. This week it was to be Alex, but unfortunately, obviously things are going crazy with the BRC20 decks, and they couldn't get here this morning. So just a little improvise. Sometimes we get 10 people, sometimes we get 120 people, but anyway, we're working away on it. So
Yeah.
welcome,
Yeah. No,
welcome.
thank you. Yeah. It's I'll try to make sure I'm here and every Friday. So yeah, I've only got 10 minutes. I'm just heading to a meeting with plenty going on. Actually, one of the guys I'm meeting with is the founder of a platform called ASOB, Australian Small Scales Offerings Board. Very skilled and joining us with our agency. Long story short, we're building an incubator of projects, and we see that Stacks and also the spatial web, and that's really where we're looking to build the marketplace and build it in an open format, collaboratively. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to having Stacks Australia involved with that, and Stacks London, and our developer over in the US is quite experienced with Stacks as well, and was working with Stacks back in the day when it was block stacked. So yeah, there's plenty going on, and I'm not going to be able to talk too much about it because I've just jumped in the car to head to this meeting. But I will stay here and then just chime in maybe when I stop driving and just share a little bit more and just listen in and contribute where I can.
Yeah, fantastic. It's great to have you on board, and and thanks to Nat from Stacks London for making the introduction some time ago there. So, we've got just a little bit of news for the community. We've got a meet up in on the Gold Coast on the 29th of May down your country way there. So, that's going to be a building on Bitcoin session. Doing that, Darren Rogan's putting that on for us. And we're going to be doing a smart contract clarity introduction to clarity and stacks the next day at Griffith University. So got a big week coming up down on the Goldie in a couple of weeks.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Connector, can you just give us like an intro to your project so we know what to expect and what you're building?
It's more of an ecosystem. There's several projects, but it all starts with we have Web3 EXO, Web the number 3 and then exo.com. So you'll see the projects are all listed there, but yeah, it starts with the agency where we've got courses where helping people understand what the spatial web is, which is the new internet, and the different layers to that and how they can build business models around that with the exponential business model. And then from there, we're very much focused on a collaborative peer-to-peer cooperative network and built extending on the agency into more of an academy where we've got certain domain experts that are rewarded and incentivized to be there hosting spaces and having conversations and organizing that data. And from there, we've got the foundation to really scale up the serviceability to businesses or creative projects that, most need to adjust their whole business model. So we'll be able to really support them. So underlying of that, you'll see in the third project we got listed is they need transparency in the contracts. They need everything in terms of how they get attributed, whether it's a business or a creative project. They're going to need those smart contracts, templatized, done for them. And like I say,
Yeah.
there's the standard smart contract, but what we want to do within the spatial stacks marketplace is really connect the spatial domains because the digital world is connecting with the physical world through that new protocol of the internet, which is called HSTP, Hyperspace Transaction Protocol. So, yeah, that's just at a high level. It does connect to another project I'm involved with, which is called UPG, Unified Purpose Global, and we've built a whole virtual city, a metaverse. And so we'll plug in all the contracts and the whole, ecosystem. That will be its sort of its directory and its house where people have their immersive web spaces, let's just call it. And we can get together and have our events and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, have a lot of fun with the music. We've got my business partners, Buckshot or Ken Blake from Duck Down Records. So we've got a lot of people in the US and even globally in the music space that we'll bring in from a creative perspective. But yeah, that's there's a few other things, but that's sort of the short sort of summary while I'm driving here to give you. Hopefully that answers a few questions. But if you have a look at the site, and feel free to just opt in, and I'll give you free access to the course to understand, everything that we're doing in educating business or any project on.
Oh, that's wonderful. Gordon, do you have a question for him?
Oh yeah, nice connect. Just to introduce you to Jimmy Grow up there in the stack. Jimmy does product development with Saks Australia. So as we just introducing you to others in the Australian community, and we've also got Eli down there. You might know Eli already from community manager from Gamma. So yeah, good to connect the Australians up this morning.
Thank you. Yeah, no, great to meet you all, and I'll be definitely spending a lot more time with you guys, getting behind whatever you're doing, and seeing where we can contribute. But yeah, the marketplace we want to build is going to power, I think, some amazing projects, and we don't want to have control of it. We want to open it up and make sure we can build what's needed for these projects to get their own ownership and just make whatever they want to make happen, and make sure it's a duplicatable system for powering different communities out there that I think have had the wrong end of the stick in terms of some of the way the world is run at the moment, money wise and all that sort of stuff. So great to be here, and haven't got that much longer to talk. I'm just rocking up to a meeting, so thank you very much, Gordon. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
good on you, Connector. Thanks.
Thank you, Connector.
Thanks.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, welcome. Can you guys hear me?
I can. I was just typing something out. Quickly came back. How's it going?
We're good. We're good. We're good. I would like you to introduce yourself to Connector, if there's any way you guys can collaborate in what is building in Australia.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to connect with Connector. I was just, I actually was in his DM just saying hello and apologizing for being late and not hearing exactly what he was doing, although I got a glimpse of the marketplace. Let's just, if you're jumping into a meeting, I won't put any pressure on you now, but I'll say hello in DMs and maybe send you my calendar, and we can organize a proper time to chat, see if we can help each other. I'm all about collaboration, and any way in which we can build a reciprocal relationship, I'm all for it.
Definitely, mate. Will do, Jimmy. I'm just, so I am a bit under the pressure, just rocking up to a car park. So, sorry, I'll do that. I'll chat to you later on, and I'll definitely be hanging out with you guys a lot more. There we go.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
Thanks,
Wonderful.
Jimmy. Hey, while we've got Eli here, if he's able to jump up for a quick chat, that'd be great.
Yeah, I invited him up to speak. So, hi, live.
Good morning, guys. Just thought I'd pop in. I
Good morning.
sometimes have a commitment with another space, but it's not on because Bitcoin Miami's on at the moment, so it's pretty wild over in the States. So just holding the fort down for Gamma when I'm working through my Friday. How are you guys? Are you well?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Actually, we were expecting Alex today, but some things came up, so they couldn't turn up. So we have to improvise this one to talk about founders building in Australia and around the space. We're glad that you're here. And for people that are just joining us, welcome, welcome.
Well, I have
So,
I kind of, like, as you guys know, I have two
okay.
hats. So like head of growth at Gamma, which is, I guess like the #1 Bitcoin NFT marketplace. We're aiming for that. Obviously, like, we've got a bit of competition now in Magic Eden with ordinals, but in terms of the Stacks ecosystem, and I also have my own I have my own founder hat for Stacks Parrots, which is on Stacks. So a couple of things that keep me nice and busy. But obviously like my full-time job is with Gamma. So head of growth, which is quite like been working there for over a year now. So it's we've grown a lot, and we've adapted and starting to do really well with ordinals, and just released the trustless Dutch auctions, which is the first marketplace to kind of build that tech on Bitcoin. So it's been very exciting and very busy last little while. And we've been building behind the scenes at Parrots as well. Stacks is kind of, I guess, because of ordinals, like, it's not a negative or a positive. It's just Stacks has volume's gone a little bit down. Like, it's a little bit quieter. I think even if you look at Ethereum, like, a lot of liquidity has moved into Bitcoin, which is healthy, to be honest. Bitcoin's Bitcoin. It's the king of blockchains. So it's going to be really interesting to see how I guess let's call them layer twos. Stacks isn't a traditional layer two, given it sort of retains its own layer one properties. But I don't think layer names. I don't even think the word layer is important. I actually see Stacks as more of a smart contract layer, which settles on Bitcoin, so it allows scalability in certain ways. Like Lightning is a pure layer 2 because it genuinely helps to scale Bitcoin directly. But again, layer names are kind of irrelevant. I think, like, you know, Stacks is
Yeah.
kind of leading the way. It's to be honest, like, you know, it's no secret it's going through a few hiccups right now. I think that they're working super hard because I think they want a really smooth rollout of SBTC, and then and you know, like, building on top of Bitcoin is hard. So I think that they're going through, like, let's call them teething issues now, but look, they've got a committed builders there, and you know, I like proper. You know, when I say proper, it's not like a VC backed blockchain like some other ones. I think, you know, people are here because they're genuinely interested in expanding the Bitcoin ecosystem more. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But yeah, Ordinals has obviously certainly kept us busy. It's been amazing to see all of this happen, like, directly on layer one, which I think in the long run pushes layer twos. Like I said, we don't have layer two, whatever you want to call it. I think they'll become more and more important because, you know, you already see with, like, fee spikes and you know, file size limitations and whatnot, that yeah, there's going to the other, like, smart contract layers certainly going to play their part, and particularly you know, with more and more users.
Hey Brett, we should definitely connect. At the moment, what I'm doing is putting together a framework that combines product-led growth and community-led growth. And so I would love, if being as you're a community growth expert, I'd love to kind of bounce some ideas off you into this kind of like next level of growth framework. So it pulls, you know, like the traditional product-led growth Web 2 elements, freemium models, free trial, value first, and adds it with brand engagement and alignment with the community to essentially create a structure that should be for really any project entering Web 3 and for Web 2 projects that actually want to grow. Because there is this, it's funny, I don't know if anyone's got any opinions on this. There's this thought that if Web 2 company wants to leverage what Web 3 companies are doing or Web 3 projects are doing with community growth, they have to somehow have an NFT to go along with it. But I'm actually consulting with some of these Web 2 companies, and where we're getting to is actually you don't need to have an NFT to get the value of what these Web 3 companies are doing. What you need to do is look at how they've designed their community growth strategies and apply it to their own strategies. And yes, okay, the Web 3 tech could come later, but you know, it's all about owning a medium for you to communicate directly with your community, which obviously most of us use Discord. So yeah, Brett, I'd love to have an offline chat, but also just generally, if you've got any opinions on that, love to hear them now.
Yeah, we can certainly connect. Like, hit me up in the DMs and I'll shoot my calendar. But look, I think one thing that I've noticed in Web3, so I'm just holding my phone to my ear because I'm just getting myself set up, is that it's like, it sounds almost a little bit cliche, but it's almost, Web3 is almost, because it's got like this global reach or this global audience, it's much more about being in touch with the community directly, and like, it's not kind of like waiting for them to come to you, or kind of like hiring out contractors to kind of go out and do kind of research in the field. It really is about like boots on the ground, kind of constantly. And I guess again, that sounds super cliche. Sorry, I just want to stick my headphones in. So give me 1 second. Sorry.
Okay. While we're waiting for Brett to jump in, he said something that I really resonate with earlier about this whole differentiation, or talking about, okay, we are layer ones and we're layer two.
But that's all right.
Personally, to me, okay, you can go.
No, it's all right.
Brett.
You continue.
Then I'll continue with that. Yeah. Okay, to just round that up, personally, I always have this affinity towards, we don't really care about if it's layer one or layer two. We are all on the BTC chain. And this whole concept of saying, okay, we're building on the layer one directly to BTC, or you guys are just being adaptive or something, it doesn't really matter, because to a degen, they just came into the space to buy NFTs, make money, chase the memes. They don't really understand what we're calling the layer one or the layer two. So I feel like this collaborative effort, if we can push the collaborative effort, look beyond being layer one or layer two, we can do better things on BTC for both of us. So you can continue, Brett.
No, so yeah, no, Jimmy and I can hook up in a DM, and he just ping me and we can organize a call. But I think it's really interesting. I think that like the relationships are really key, and one thing which really we get, I guess, complimented for at Gamma is the fact that we are so approachable. People can, get, even as we've scaled and got a lot more users, like they've got access to the team via different mediums kind of all the time. And I think that also an interesting thing for Web2 companies to consider, and again, it sounds fairly simple, is having, and I think like COVID, this will make sense in a second, has actually been good for this in a way, because people have realized that you can have a remote team. And that means that if you can cover time zones around the world from directly within the team without contracting out, to various places, then having that sort of like 24/7, so to speak, coverage of like direct relationships where people know that they're going to be responded to quickly and by a human makes a big difference. It's really interesting to see a lot of Web2 companies, like they've got, again, it sounds sort of silly, like if you want to call the bank, you kind of, or somewhere, you can't really like call them after hours and whatnot. Like there's like ways in which I think Web3 companies are really using global reach and using the various mediums, whether it be, Twitter, Discord, any other way, like console, even just like video calls, various things like Zendesk for kind of like email support, whatever, that the list goes on. I think Web3 companies are covering that really well. And so people are feeling, well, the companies that are doing it well are feeling, the consumers or the customers or or whatever you want, the community who are engaged with these companies are feeling well supported always. And I think that it's funny. It sounds silly, but it's online, but people feel like a better sense of customer support than they do from needing to like call up their like local whatever and get answers. And yeah, I've found that really interesting. Just even like Twitter Spaces. There's the list. Like I said, the list goes on, and I think that's been. I think that Web2 companies could really, and look, Web2, Web3, it's funny old kind of like expressions as well, but I think that they could really take a leaf out of that book as well. I think like it's almost like going back to, saying like back in my day, like, you used to speak to a person and not not a robot. It's like that, that's massive for people. Like people respond to that, and we're doing that digitally. Rather, but you're still speaking to a human. There's still that human connection, and that's one thing we get complimented on at Gamma, and I think is really important for people to remember that humans respond really well to that. So despite it maybe being behind a like a profile picture or via whatever medium, it doesn't matter. Humans still crave that connection, and if the good Web3 companies are providing that, it's a huge leg up. But anyway, that's just one aspect of it.
I think there's an element of being behind a PFP that's actually to everyone's advantage. It really does put us all on a much more equal footing. There's no especially when you're typing, there's nothing about gender, there's nothing about race or culture.
Yeah, no preconceptions.
We're all just human beings.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. That's what I meant.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. I think. Sorry, it's funny because I'm actually writing. Part of my gig, obviously, it's very wide and varied given we're a startup. Sorry, Jim, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you just stimulated a thought. Is the fact that people have their own sort of like have their own identity. Like you walk into a cafe, wherever you walk into the supermarket, and humans do it naturally. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It just is. You just look at someone. You kind of how you're brought up. All of the stories and everything, like how the school you went to, etc., kind of builds up a picture of what you perhaps think that person is like. And you might be right, you might be wrong. Who knows? Let's not like get into that politics of that. But you're right. On the internet, it doesn't matter. Like, you're behind your seal. Look, I've got my face, but it's still an artistic representation of my face done by the amazing Madam Love. Gordon, I've met Gordon in a video chat. That again depends on if they're comfortable too. He's got that really cool right. But second, the fact that like you said, level playing field, equal footing, all of those kind of expressions. But I think no preconceptions about a person. Like, it's interesting. Like, we're a fully doxed team at Gamma, but there's other marketplaces that aren't. Pros and cons to both, perhaps. But what it means is that people, there is that lack of kind of like judgment or preconception or misconception or all of those kinds of terms. I completely agree, Jimmy. I think that's really fascinating in this space, and it is something that even like you said with, let's call them Web 2 companies. They don't have to love all of it, but they can just take things that they like out of it. And I think that would really, enhance their business models.
100%.
That's wonderful. That's
Hey,
wonderful.
if I can jump in there, Brett, just to bring to everyone's who's here attention as to what we're doing at Stacks Australia. We're bringing together people that are builders, people that are that needing assistance with their projects. So Jimmy Grow is heavily involved in helping our projects with their product development. He's got a great community building strategy. So I encourage you to follow Jimmy on LinkedIn and on Twitter here. Nietta's doing doing graphic design for us. Sam's also works around a number of Discords and community building. So great to that's our goals here in this space. So great to have you jump in today and share with us some ideas about what you're doing there as a founder.
You're talking about, yeah, no, it's great. I love what you're doing at Stacks Australia. Actually, speaking of that, I spoke to Dundo yesterday. I don't know if anyone some people know Dundo. He's probably been in this space maybe. He works at Oshi Gallery in Melbourne. He also, which is like the web. I don't know how they describe themselves, like a NFT gallery, a Web3 gallery, a kind of. I'm actually not sure, kind of like their catchphrase, but in that vein. And we're in the process of organising an event in Melbourne. And Jane didn't realise that she hadn't sent us an email back and it was in her drafts. So that's why I hadn't heard back from them. But yeah, we're going to do a really fun event. We'll let you know when the date is, so it might be fun if anyone's interstate, if they want to come down. I'm going to present, I guess from the marketplace perspective, or even just from the kind of like, or I don't know, like demystifying or the TLDR on ordinals and Stacks NFTs and whatnot. And then Dundo's going to do like a music kind of like aspect of it, because I think music in Web3 is fascinating. And Madam Love's going to do kind of like the fine art / what it takes to kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better expression, kind of like market yourself or be involved, because it is a really important aspect of it. You can have the best art, going around, but if people, it's a challenge in Web3. Is like, how do you get it out there? You've got all of these kind of amazing tools and all of these ways to do it, but it does take, it takes effort. It doesn't just happen. And depending on time and depending if Kieran's free, I'm not sure what he's doing for a full-time gig. He just got a new one, but he's going to be talking more about like, Bitcoin and Lightning and kind of maybe a little bit more of the techie stuff. So it'll be a nice varied one, and then we'll, have a drink and have a mingle and have a chat and just use it as a good time to connect in Melbourne. So I think it'll be really good for, and because Stacks, like we said, it settles on Bitcoin, with like a Bitcoin focus in Melbourne or in Australia, with Stacks and Bitcoin, I think it's massive because, no knock on it. I think NFT Fest was done really well last year, and it was really interesting. But the wider population or the wider kind of Web3 community, or at least the wider Web3 community who organise events and get together, is very ETH focused, which is fine because ETH is cool as well. I'm not married to any blockchain. I obviously am like Bitcoin and Stacks first, but it'll be great to kind of like push, particularly what Stacks and Bitcoin are doing, because obviously, Bitcoin is like the king or the queen of blockchain, and the only reason all of these other blockchains exist is because Bitcoin came out first. So it'll be really good, and I think it'll be really nice to connect, and people can come out of the woodwork, and it'll be really interesting to just to meet people. So Gordon's going to be helping that happen from Stacks Australia. So thank you, Gordon, for that. And yeah, Nieta, I suppose you and I can chat because you and Madam Love can hopefully put a little design together just for the marketing and stuff. So it's cool to see this come together because I think, it's not going to happen overnight, but you've seen with ordinals like Bitcoin Frogs, just for example, kind of like the biggest ordinals project at the moment, has just gone to like number one in total. Let's call it NFT volume, but we know an ordinal's not quite an NFT. That's the kind of technicals don't matter, but they've gone to number one in volume out of any project. So we're not including fine art because that's in a different sort of bucket. But they've had more volume than even Bored Apes have on ETH, which is just for Bitcoin and for getting people involved and understanding Bitcoin, and then obviously Stacks then relates into that. I think that's fascinating, and who would have guessed that would happen? Back in January, like ordinals fever sort of started in February. It's really crazy to think that we're here where we are now. So yeah, it's onwards and upwards. I reckon I've been very invigorated by it.
What's the floor on one of those?
Yeah, mate, I got really lucky. I picked one up for like $50, and I think the floor. I'll tell you the floor on Gamma. Floor on Gamma is currently, it's pretty wild. Even like a week and a half ago, I think they were like $100. 0.14 Bitcoin, which is, what's that? That's like USD or almost 4K. So it's a pretty expensive little frog. So look, but what that shows, let's not worry about floor price and all that sort of stuff. What that shows is more people getting involved in Bitcoin, and then that is, that's where Stacks and any other layers that are trying to build, because there are, that's where I think Stacks has a huge opportunity, and they need to seize it by really building, which they are slowly. Look, not when I say slowly, it's not even slowly, but it's just technical. Really integrating deeply as a smart contract layer with Bitcoin, because all of a sudden we've got all of these new users who are interested and starting to understand Bitcoin. Yes, you've got your speculators and your flippers and stuff, but to be honest, you have them in traditional stocks as well. There's always a range. Back when I started, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit here, but as Gordon knows, I like to talk, and so does Nieta. But as like back when I started in the space, look, I bought some Bitcoin at the start of 2017. Not enough in hindsight, but I was sort of thinking, and then when I sort of got into NFTs, I was thinking, oh God, I hate the flipping mindset. It's like they're so frustrating. But I realized that sort of mindset, or that sort of like speculative trader, is actually healthy for a market, because it happens in traditional finance. You've got your people that are like you need market makers, and so you've got people who are keeping the market going. This is trading Stacks or Bitcoin and ordinals or Stacks NFTs. You got the people who are keeping the market going. You got the people who are somewhere in the middle, and then you've got your collectors at the other end. And I think that all of that is actually healthy, because, and I never used to think that. I used to think, gee, they're frustrating, but I realized that you need all sorts of traders. And so regardless if people have gotten into Bitcoin to make a quick buck, some of them will be converted into like art buyers. Some of them will be converted into like Stacks users. And I think like the flow on effect is really healthy.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So it is a model that we're using for Stacks Australia, is the building on Bitcoin model. You see all our branding now is building on Bitcoin. And it's going to be collaborative with, we want to encourage any other applications that are building on Bitcoin. So we've got Art of Thomas down there. Welcome. Great to have you here today doing some stuff with Rootstock. But before I get into that, in Brisbane, we've got in The Gold Coast and Brisbane on the 29th of July. We're going to be on the Gold Coast doing a building on Bitcoin event, and then Clarity. Introduction to Clarity and Stacks the next day at Griffith University, and then at the Precinct on the Thursday, June the 1st. We're going to be at we're going to be doing the first Bitcoin Builders Association meetup there. So that's all things Bitcoin, all layers, anyone that's involved. And it's really directed at founders, developers, funders. We want to get together that community that's actually going to build we've got the ideas to build the next ecosystem. And the same again, the next day we'll be at DLTX at their lab in city of Brisbane to do the introduction to Clarity and Stacks as well. So so anyone that's if you can you'll see our posts around. If you can share that around, it'd be great. And great to hear that Melbourne's event's going to be happening soon, and between all the guys in Sydney looking to work on that next event. So I'd like to hear from Art of Thomas and Nieta as to what some of their ideas and plans are coming up for Sydney. So Art of Thomas, are you there? You able to speak?
I think before Arthur Thomas, Jimmy has a question before we can get to Arthur Thomas. Jimmy?
Yeah, just before we move off the topic of what Brett was talking about, I wanted to kind of pose something that I've been thinking, because I think you're 100% right. You know, all of this money and all of these new users flowing into Bitcoin for ordinals and their meme coins, which I'm not a big fan of, but I am a fan of ordinals. What we should be doing here, you know, you said ordinals aren't an NFT. So for those that don't understand, they don't have that smart contract functionality, quote unquote, yet. Maybe somebody will find a way of doing it. But Stacks NFTs do. So what we really want to be doing with Stacks is actually going and contacting these big projects and saying, right, how can we maybe have a mirror Stacks NFT that every ordinals holder gets, that actually then starts to work in smart contract fashion. So I'd be keen to know any thoughts on that, Brett.
Yeah, it's it's funny that you bring that up. I don't know how far along it is, but I know like that there's talk, and again, this is not coming from Gamma, so this is just me like hearing things around the place that they're, you know, I'm sure Rootstock is looking at it as well. Like I said, there's other other blockchains or smart contract layers, or I'm not sure how Rootstock refers to itself, but that's okay. Similar vein, where they're looking at, like, I reckon that there will end up being like potentially like wrapped versions and things like that. A little bit like how SBTC is not a wrapped version of Bitcoin, but it's like a representation of Bitcoin on Stacks. I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of thing happens. And yeah, I agree with you. Look, the meme coin thing is super degenerate. Like, it's just degeneracy. But at the same time, what it is showing, and I'm not agreeing nor disagreeing with it, what it's showing is that people are experimenting, and Stacks is experimenting as well, right? Like, it's tech, like, you know, the tech is there, so it's a healthy experiment. However, it's still an experiment. I think all blockchains or all whatever's going on, you know, even with ordinals, there's plenty of experimentation going on, and I think all of that ultimately is healthy. I think what we're probably referring to, the shit coins or the meme coins there, is like, be very careful if you're spending money, like make sure you're prepared to write it to zero. However, at the same time, what it is going to do is it's going to attract more builders, and somebody might crack the code, so to speak. Somebody might figure out how to do certain things, and I think that will be interesting, and that's why I think Stacks, and I'm sure RSK are doing it too. I actually know, well, a guy on my team at Stacks Parrots used to work at RSK, but he, you know, I'm sure that RSK and Stacks and look, Liquid's not quite the same, but is it RG? There's one more. There's a new one, like RGB. I don't actually know it. Can't remember. Anyway, I'm sure that they're all working super hard to kind of ensure that they can solve various problems that perhaps can't be solved directly on layer one. So I agree with you in regards to kind of like sentiment towards shitcoins and meme coins and that. But, you know, humans are speculators. Like when they found gold in Australia back in the day, like, everybody rushed from overseas to get there, and people figured out new and inventive ways of, you know, finding that gold. So, you know, I guess, you know, it's funny, like, history kind of repeats itself. This is a very similar thing. It's like, well, hold on a second. There's some new gold here in Bitcoin, and then people are going to be, you know, in a very different way, but trying to figure out how to kind of like maximize, you know, that I don't want to use the word yield because it has sort of like different connotations in Web3, but you know, let's use that word yield. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, Jimmy, completely agree. But conversely, it's also super healthy when you kind of look at the flip side of it. But yeah, in terms of like, gee, people getting dumped on with tokens and that, like, that's a bit scary on that side. But I think that's when people need to be smart. It's kind of like going to the TAB on a weekend and betting on a horse. Like, it's so ridiculous from the outside, isn't it? Like, so people just need to watch their like spending and only kind of invest what they can afford to lose, and be safe in that regard. But in terms of the actual tech and experimentation side of it, I'm all for it because I think that there's going to be new, I don't know, protocols, new inventions. You know, Stacks is going to push to figure things out. You know, marketplaces are going to push to work things out like we did. You know, like our devs were just monsters when we're getting our Ordinals marketplace online. So yeah, it's amazing to see because I think it's really, I found it invigorating from like a community perspective. It's been amazing to see, just for example, like our engineers at Gamma be so inspired because it really is like it really is like an exciting time, like back on Bitcoin, and Stacks is on Bitcoin, so kind of it fits beautifully.
You know what though, when it comes to the whole conversation of Stacks, and I think Sam mentioned it earlier, you know, like we're all on Bitcoin, but you know, hear me out. Like I'm a big advocate here that Bitcoin should. I like the experimentation, but I'm one of those people that think that Bitcoin shouldn't be having things like smart contracts on it. I'm much more of an advocate for the likes of the layer 2s or 1.5s or whatever you want to call stacks, and actually them coming onto Bitcoin and them building the innovation. I think Ordinals is perfect if you're talking about the kind of art that you want to keep forever. Again, I'm not a massive fan of the generative projects, although like the things like the frogs have just proven that many other people have a different opinion to me. But I think we've got a window now, or Stacks has a window, right? And in this window, they need to work out the interoperability between Bitcoin and Stacks much better so that it is seamless, because all these people are piling in. They're buying shit coins, meme coins, ordinals. They're inscribing their own stuff. But are they trickling over to Stacks? You know, it is really at the moment a tiny little trickle. What we need is this influx of, you know, Stacks teaming up with some of these big ordinal projects and adding innovation there. Because all that's happening at the moment, as you've already rightly said, is these innovators, they're wanting to build on top of Bitcoin. And they might succeed in building, you know, some sort of smart contract layer completely on Bitcoin. I don't know, because I'm not a techie person. But if they do that, what will happen to Stacks is that it will slowly evaporate, because if the more Bitcoin can do on its chain, the less the need for Stacks and the other layer 2s. So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bitcoin is designed in a way that things like Stacks, let's like phrase this carefully, because you never know. Bitcoin was designed in a way that like blockchains like Stacks and RSK, it'd be great to hear from Art of Thomas, you know, I guess needed to be built, because I predict, and I could be wrong, because I'm not an engineer, but you know, you start to understand it a bit more deeply. Obviously, I can't code anything up, but I don't think it will be able to happen. And I've already seen, like, you know, some people trying to write like Solidity code somehow then on top of Bitcoin. I've seen a lot of very, like, if you don't follow, if you should follow a guy called I should find his Twitter handle. It's Bitcoin Bugsy, I think. You know, he has some really interesting counter arguments to all of that. I can't see that sort of thing being built on Bitcoin, and I think that's where Stacks. But Stacks has to work really fast and hard as well, because, you know, you can't kind of like rest on your laurels. It was kind of, you know, it's winning in terms of like users for like a smart contract layer at the moment, but Yeah, they need to work super hard, but I can't see that sort of thing. Yeah, it's Bitcoin Bugsy, capital B, in his
Yeah,
answer. Bitcoin.
I've got him.
He's great, and just have a look at some of the stuff he writes, and so he can be a bit. He's actually great. I don't know him, but I've gotten to know him. He's strong-willed, but he's responded to a couple of those people trying to write like code, Solidity code and stuff on Bitcoin. It wasn't designed to do that, so I'll be really interested to see what happens. I think SBTC, so like the like I said, it's not wrapped, but it's like a representation of Bitcoin in a sort of like as decentralized a fashion, I guess, as you can get, is the the selling point there. It will be really interesting because the integration with Bitcoin needs to be stronger. At the moment, it's kind of like there is one. Like it's interesting that every block then settles on Bitcoin, but I think that and I'm sure RSK are working super hard on it as well. I think that the really like strong, for lack of a better word, I'm going to use it again, like integration with Bitcoin is going to be super key because moving forward, whoever wins that, I think will end up winning. So Stacks needs to make sure. Like I got into Stacks because I loved its connection with Bitcoin. So I agree, Jimmy. Basically, like I'm just kind of like echoing your sentiment but I still can't see. I don't know. I just can't see that sort of functionality happening on Bitcoin. It wasn't designed to be able to do that, and that's why you need the smart contract layers that kind of use it in different ways.
I'm with you on that, and honestly, in the back of my mind, I know some people, even maybe on this space, won't like this, but I hope they don't find a solution for this because, to me, Bitcoin is the king of all chains, as you mentioned before. It is the innovator. It is what all of the outside world, the Web 2 world, is looking at for how Web 3 can be. We can get mass adoption. It's digital gold. Now, the more crap we put on Bitcoin, the less it becomes that purest Bitcoin, that purest digital gold. And I would hate to see Bitcoin lose face with some of these bigger institutions and lose its position because we've got a load of scammers building shit coins and whatnot. Like I hope they don't find a technical solution, and I hope to God that the likes of Stacks elevate themselves to be the solution. But we live in a world where I didn't think ordinals was possible last year, and here we are. Here we are now.
Yeah, if I can jump in there, Jimmy, I totally disagree with that. I think that there's going to be a lot of innovation that goes on Bitcoin, and it being the underlying infrastructure, the most secure, decentralized, censorship-resistant infrastructure. I think that's going to make it more robust for institutions to be there. I mean, that's why they're trusting it. There's no problems with the SEC or anyone like that. I think that as it plays out, there'll eventually be a competition between, say, demand for payments as just what Bitcoin is designed for, peer-to-peer cash, versus data being stored on the blockchain. But I think it's super early days.
Yeah, look, I agree. Kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't hope either way. I think that like even still, I think Stacks will have a part to play. Bitcoin is designed and it's so robust that's why other chains like Stacks and RSK and Liquid and Lightning is in a different way kind of all popped up. So it remains to be seen. I think if that does happen, you're still going to see various bottlenecks that give the smart contract layers, a place. I know that there's a lot of people that think that all blockchains are going to disappear and only Bitcoin and ETH, will be left. I can't see that happening as long as things keep, getting built really strongly. And I love, I've fallen more and more deeply in love with ordinals because, like, for example, someone like Nieta, the fact that her art then becomes permanent and immutable. Like there is, and regardless of what chain it's on, Stacks, ETH, Solana, any smart contract based blockchain, because the art is just the NFT is just a pointer to, something like IPFS, which is an amazing solution, right? Like it's brilliant in itself too, but there's counterparty risk. Whereas the fact that like data, regardless of what it is, a file can live on Bitcoin now. I think is incredible. I think, regardless of whether it's art, whether it's a piece of news, whether it's a piece of history, whether it's like a photo of your dog, like, that you want, whatever people are inscribing, I think is super cool. Like the immutability and the permanence of it is amazing. And that's its biggest draw card ultimately. But then, the smart contract layer, the kind of like programmability and decentralized finance when it's used well, is at least in the short term, until potentially something is built on Bitcoin. I don't directly on Bitcoin. Again, I can't see it having the same functionality. But again, like I said, I could be wrong. I think all of it is healthy because it's going to drive innovation. But yeah, look, naturally, if you care about stacks, you want stacks to really like capitalize on this moment as well.
Yeah, the next biggest thing that we do have is SBTC coming, and it's the best thing we could do as a community is to support that experimentation of that innovation. Andre punches out a weekly newsletter on updates and everything that's happening. They've got I think there's going to be a planned hackathon coming up in June or sometime close thereafter. And yeah, to get that best success, more attention, actually then seeing the lodgement or the people putting up their Bitcoin to be then utilized with a stack smart contract to be able to use their native Bitcoin, if you want to call it, across the ecosystem. So that's I think encouraging all of us to work on checking that out, encouraging I guess there's always risks in the new tech, but getting our communities to play around with it and see where that goes first.
Okay, guys, we've been having a wonderful conversation, but we'll be closing up the space in a few minutes. But before that, I would still like to hear what Art of Thomas is building in Australia, and if everything they're building collaborates with what we've been talking about since. Art of Thomas, if you can hear us, please, can you introduce yourself? Let's know you.
Yes, hi guys. I was listening to the conversation while I was doing some work. That's why I couldn't chime in earlier. And yeah, my name is Thomas. I was born in Argentina, been living in Australia for the last 6 years, and about to marry an Australian girl at the end of this year. So it's been quite an experience living in this country. I work as an ambassador for the Rootstock ecosystem, and I am creating content for the Sovereign platform, which is the biggest dApp, DeFi platform and DAO running on Rootstock at the moment. So I am very, very familiar with how Rootstock works. Been doing this for some time now. I also previously worked on the other DAOs in Rootstock. And now I am trying to learn more about the broader Bitcoin ecosystem, specifically now around stacks. And I'm building a website to have news, updates, and how-to guides around all the Bitcoin ecosystem, because I feel like that's something that's lacking. Usually I can find in some places information about Rootstock, and I can go some other places to find about stacks, and I can go to different places to find about Lightning. And I want a place that has everything in it, and to gather people that want to discuss the broader Bitcoin ecosystem, not just one specific aspect of it. So yes, that's why I'm here, and I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
Firstly, felicitaciones on your upcoming wedding. That'll be beautiful. Muy bonita. And can you, if you've got any specific questions, God, my Spanish is bad now. I've been to Argentina twice. It's incredible. So if you got any specific questions, I can give you I guess maybe you probably already know, I can give you kind of like the TLDR on it. Basically Stacks has a unique consensus mechanism called proof of transfer. And what that means is that there's the transaction hash, or the Merkle root, which is the transaction hash that represents a block, then settles on Bitcoin as a single Bitcoin transaction. So a Stacks block and a Bitcoin block, they basically confirm. Well, Stacks blocks confirm in correlation with Bitcoin blocks, and so like I said, the hash that represents the block settles on Bitcoin as a Bitcoin transaction. So Bitcoin, I guess, is like it anchors or it's secured by Bitcoin. So every single transaction on that block, settles on the Stacks block, and then the Stacks block settles on the Stacks blockchain, but is then kind of like confirmed on the Bitcoin blockchain. So you can basically like find that transaction and then track it back to Stacks. So basically, like Stacks can't exist without Bitcoin. In essence, like that's basically like the TLDR on how it works.
So would it be fair to say that Stacks is using Bitcoin as its settlement layer?
Correct. Yeah, that's basically like the way to get your head around it, without going like super deeply and technically. But yes, that's it.
Yeah, that is fascinating, because that has been my thesis for a long time. That eventually, like you said, I don't think all the other blockchains are going away, but I do think that Bitcoin is going to become the settlement layer for all of them, or at least the biggest ones.
Yeah, and so that's, I guess, the thesis on Stack sort of basically allows like smart contract capabilities to then and transactions to settle on its own block, and then for that block to then settle onto, or the transaction the Merkle root, or so the transaction hash of that block then settling on Bitcoin. So then every Stacks block is traceable from the Bitcoin blockchain. So it's a really interesting thesis. Obviously, there's a lot of room to grow, and they're working on later this year. Anyone can jump in and kind of but I can give the short explanation as well. Later this year, they're working on something called SBTC. So as you know, probably, an RSK has their version of RBTC, but even think about wrap Bitcoin on ETH. That is a very centralized look at it, and it's got a huge market cap. It's interesting. People obviously trust it enough, but it's a very centralized way of wrapping, of having Bitcoin wrapped and then being able to use it on a smart contract layer like ETH. With SBTC, what's going to happen is there's going to be something called a threshold wallet, and you'll basically you'll send your Bitcoin to that wallet, but that wallet's not controlled by a single custodian or a few custodians. That wallet is controlled by, and again, without going into a huge amount of detail, basically stackers. So there's people who basically stack their stacks, or there's different. I guess they're building out decentralized stacking pools and whatnot, but basically with I'm gonna have to sort of basically I'll talk about how it's going to work first, and then explain what stackers are. So you'll send your Bitcoin to that address, and then in return you receive something called SBTC. So if I send one Bitcoin to that address, I'll receive one SBTC. So what it is, it's a representation, direct one-to-one representation of my Bitcoin, which I can then use on Stacks. And then when I want to get it back out and go back to Bitcoin, you'll send it to you basically will send it to you're not really sending it. There'll be a way in which you kind of alert the people who are the stackers, or the people who, so the decentralized network of people who I guess control that threshold wallet. And then I think it needs 80% of agreeance isn't a word. 80% of the stackers to agree that that's legitimate, and then that SBTC is burnt, and then you receive your Bitcoin back. I was I can't think of that. I always say agreeance, and then I realize it's not a word. But anyway, the stackers basically, anyone can stack stacks. You don't even, I think you can stack stacks with one stacks, but basically there's different, Xverse provide it. If you've got enough stacks, you can do it on your own. And basically how that works is it's with the Stacks miners, so with Bitcoin, you basically use energy to try and win a Bitcoin block, essentially. Yeah. So you use energy, and if you spend them, your mining rig, solves that algorithm, you win that block and you win the Bitcoin reward. And then how it works with stacks is the stacks miners then spend the Bitcoin. So it's like recycling Bitcoin to win stacks blocks. And so, they send their Bitcoin into to a certain address, and then there's a thing called VRF, which is a verifiable random function, which then randomly draws out who wins the block, and then they win that block, they get the stacks reward. But what happens with that Bitcoin is that Bitcoin then goes out to in a distributed way to people who are stackers. So let's just say that there's 100 stackers, even though there's a lot more. They would receive a split, depending on how much stacks they're stacking, of that Bitcoin that the stacks miner spent to win the stacks block. And so that gets split out, and so those stackers are then also going to be the ones who, I guess, is the decentralized network of people that will be for lack of a better word, kind of, I guess, looking after or that threshold wallet. And so there's a couple of things there. Basically, in essence, I guess stackers incentivize the miners to be good actors. And also, I guess it's good for stacks value, because people are locking up their stacks in order to do that for cycles. So you can't get your stacks out until the end of that cycle. And yeah, there's many things that sort of go into that, but that's getting into a different topic. But they're basically going to be the ones that have to sign off at the end that your SBTC is can be swapped back or burnt so then the user can get back their BTC. So it'll be really interesting because and you'd know about RSK. RSK does it in an interesting way as well. It'll be RSK, and it's not even a bad thing, because I think people need to get their head around that these things are very, very difficult or almost impossible, apart from Bitcoin, to be fully decentralized. So, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think RSK has it's federated, right? So it's trust minimized, but there's still kind of an element of trust when you're using RBTC. So for SBTC, it's just a further decentralized version of that, because you've already got this decentralized network of people stacking their stacks, who will then be the decentralized network in charge of the threshold wallet that the Bitcoin will be held in, that will then be distributed their SBTC, and then send their Bitcoin back out when the SBTC is burnt. And so there'll never be more SBTC in the world than BTC in the wallet and whatnot. And yeah, there's an amazing thread on it, on how it's all going to work, just about how it kind of disincentivizes bad actors and whatnot, because if anything kind of funny happens, and the people are worried they can't get their Bitcoin back, then the stackers don't get their Bitcoin rewards, because they'll always be, again, at a technical level, the maths, that it's all worked out that that Bitcoin reward would then be used to go back out to the person who held the SBTC and whatnot. But that they're kind of extreme examples. But yeah, it's definitely very exciting, because what it's showing is that Stacks is kind of really pushing the ability to kind of have a as decentralized a peg in, peg it out for Bitcoin to exist, in comparison to any other blockchain, at least as things stand. Sorry, that was a big rant about technicals, sort of almost technical, fairly technical stuff. But tell me if that all made sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I would love to get a link to that thread that you mentioned, or if you can help me find it. That'd be wonderful.
Let me find it now. I'm just trying to think of the guy. He's amazing. He was doing a residence with the Stacks Foundation. What's his name?
That'd be Andre.
Nah, it's not Andre. Andre's the new one. It was the guy who was before Andre.
Okay.
And I've gone completely blank on his name, and I've interviewed him before.
Is it Jack Ben?
No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll find it, and I'll see if I can pin it to this space. whilst you guys have a bit more of a chat. But yeah, he explains it in a beautiful thread. I'll go and find it now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
because
Yeah.
it all makes sense like at a general level, and if I can find a bit more in-depth information, that'd be great. I don't expect like I'll get it all in a single conversation. That never happens.
yeah, it's pretty
And
down. I just posted the link down to the SBDC white paper, and the links down in there. You'll find Andre.
Yeah, the white
and
paper's the best
subscribe
thing
to
to
his
read.
newsletter.
Yeah. Good stuff, Gordon.
all right, perfect. Thanks, guys.
The thread's great because it
So
kind
you
of
put
is
up,
the TLDR in the white paper, but reading the white paper is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. Before we close, I think we can move away from all the tech, and for people like us that are into art and don't really understand the deep side of tech. Brett, can you just tell us about Parrot, your project, because the space is exploring project founders, before we start going deep into BTC, SBTC, and all the argument. Let's just talk about Parrot.
How cute.
What are you building with Parrot, and what is it about
Well,
in
first off,
general?
it's great to see Boozy here. He's an amazing artist in the Stacks ecosystem. So shout out Boozy. If you don't follow him, throw him a follow and check out his art. He's a legend. Look, Stacks Parrots is my little baby. I guess I started in 2021. Around in I think it was the start of November, and I wasn't an original founder, but that's what it kind of just they sort of started just after I got into Stacks. And they needed some help, and then I ended up on the team, and now it's actually like mine and a couple of other people who are like new team members. But anyway, in short, we're a Stacks NFT project, but we have evolved into we've evolved into like I don't know if you're familiar with like on Cyber on Ethereum, so like a virtual gallery for your NFTs. But yeah, we've evolved into like a virtual or metaverse style gallery for your NFTs. So as things stand, if you hold a parrot, you get access to your own gallery where you can, check, walk, for lack of a better word, walk through or navigate through. It's like first player shooter type style. Like if you ever played Doom in the 90s, but you can navigate through your gallery, check out all of your NFTs, all your digital art, all your collectibles, and really sort of like be much more immersed in your artwork. I work for Gamma, so it's like no knock on a marketplace, but it's not the best place to go. Just like enjoy your art that you've bought and collected. So we saw a niche on Stacks that like it exists on Ethereum. There weren't any virtual galleries on Stacks, so yeah, it's been really cool. We're also we're upgrading the galleries. So one of the core team members, who's our sort of Unity dev, and he knows all of that sort of tech, is building out Galleries 2.0, which is going to be really cool. So yeah, basically it's a little bit different as well with on Cyber on ETH. You kind of like there's some free versions that are limited, and then you have to mint your other galleries. But you sort of like get a gallery, and then you kind of like pick and choose like the NFTs that you own from your wallet to kind of display in your gallery. With ours, it's just your whole collection auto loads, I guess, into your gallery, which is cool because it means as you buy and sell and trade and do whatever, your gallery adapts. So if I sell an NFT, it disappears, and if I buy an NFT or mint an NFT or get sent an NFT, then that pops into my gallery, and there's 64 frames or on a level. So if you've got more than 64, then you get a second level, and you got to navigate up the stairs and go to your next level. And if you've got another more than 128, then you got a third level. Some people have got multi-level NFT galleries, so that's been awesome. And then we also built another thing which we noticed, and we love, everyone loves music, or most people love music, is that for Web3 music, and Web3 music is very young, that there's no really like great way to play music, because I work at my computer, so yes, I could go, again, onto Gamma and listen to my music NFTs, but people like to consume their music while they're driving. People like to consume their music while they're exercising. People like to consume their music I don't know, while they're sitting at dinner, they like to consume their music at a party, whatever. So as people start to slowly collect Web3 music, again, it exists on ETH in certain ways. There's like apps that are kind of like aggregators, and you can basically play any music NFT that exists on a marketplace. So pros and cons of that. That's amazing for discoverability for artists, but at the same time, it's not great because you don't actually necessarily have to own the music NFT to play it. Like I could just download the app and play all that music, and if I love it, I might go buy it. But I also then am not super incentivized to actually go and buy it. So there's pros and cons, right? Whereas with our one, you can, through ownership of a Parrot, you then get access to what we call Parrot Radio. It's a bit of a play on words of Pirate Radio, but you can download the app, log in using your BNS. So log in using your Stacks address. Might be a BNS, could be, Gordon.btc, or it might just be like your, SP3, long string of letters and numbers. And then, basically you have an app, and we've got a home feed. So that connects to Cygle, which is that amazing blogging platform built on Stacks. So we can post news on there, and, so people can see that on one. So there's like, different screens, and then you've got your list of music, and you can just play down the list, or you can set up playlists and give them names, if they're audio visual. So if there's like a video associated or just a JPEG associated with the track, then that comes up. So it's that's been a really cool way of. And then also something that we added, which was kind of like icing on the cake, was that also your whole collection of just like non-music NFTs, for lack of a better way of saying it, like your your JPEGs and your GIFs and PNGs, but you like your art-based or whatever, like your PFPs, all that on another screen on the app as well. You can you've got your collection in there too, so you can kind of like scroll through your collection whilst you're listening to your music. So yeah, just a really unique way of consuming Web3 music and having your NFTs that you own in a not like the virtual gallery, but just in like a 2D kind of like scroll through type gallery on your phone as well. So another thing that we built out with that is that you can actually share the links for your NFTs, or just like share the image of your NFT in app, to things like Twitter and Discord. So yeah, super fun. It's not token gated, so you could download the app and get into, you can type in eliherf.btc, which is, my address, and you can check out what I've got. So, I guess it's not quite like an aggregator app where I can just play any music and not have to buy it. You could technically get into mine and play what I've got without having to buy it, but at the same time, you don't own it. One of the reasons why it's not token gated is because Apple don't really let you do that. So we had to find a bit of a happy medium or a compromise. So we're not like it's not just like playing whatever's on the marketplace. It certainly is just playing what belongs to me or what belongs to Gordon or Nieta or whoever or Boozy. But at the same time, it's much more specific to what that holder has. And then that's like, obviously, you can do that on a marketplace. You could go to my profile and check out what I've got anyway. So it's certainly a better way of playing it. But to have your own playlist and your own collection, you can do that too. So yeah, we're very proud of those. Working on a few things at the moment, which like the devs would kill me if I said, but like, yeah, we just wanted to kind of provide those solutions. So we're a very utility-based project. We're not really like a high-volume flipping type project. But yeah, so people sort of like, if you hold a Parrot, then you get the utility. So it's kind of like an access. We're not really, yes, it's a little piece of art and it's a PFP potentially if you want it, but it's more about like what it provides you. And I think that's cool. It's something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about art, pure art, like what Nieta and Boozy does. And I can see Anibals in here. He does art and he does music as well. But I'm also passionate about providing like a use case for NFTs, because I think for people outside of this space, like that makes a lot of sense to them. If you go, well, actually, if you hold this, regardless of it being a parrot, if you hold this NFT, you get something out of it. And I think that speaks to people potentially more than like, if you buy this NFT, you might be able to sell it for more. Like that's not what I think will get people into the space. I think obviously if you can buy this beautiful piece of art, that speaks to people as well. So yeah, just something different, and yeah, we're very proud of it. Yeah, that's basically it.
Wow. Well, that's a nutshell in just a few words. Because I've been on the server for a while now, and I won't lie to you, I've been confused about the different species of parrots I've been seeing, and I always ask myself, which one should I start with? Where are they going? But I love the idea of the metaverse, and I believe that that's one innovative thing that we have on Stacks right now. Uh, a lot of chain don't even have such metaverses where I can display whatever I do, and I feel like there's going to be some other things that can be incorporated with it, like incentives for art creators and everybody. I really applaud what you're doing there and what you're doing in Gamma to help onboard artists like Nieta, Boozy, and different projects. So thank you very much. I saw Gordon's hand. I think he has a question. Then from Gordon, we'll move to Thomas, and we'll have Crypto Rob speak about what they're building. So Gordon?
Yes. Thanks, Sam. Great to have you on ELO to talk about your own project there. So I did have a couple of questions about that. A couple of comments and questions. So at 8 a.m. on Fridays, Jimmy Grow does a space which is about product development, and they were talking about these sorts of things today. You know, about the you know, like what value there is created from your NFT projects. And, you know, it started off, say, raising, you know, how projects use an NFT to raise capital to then create a product and take it forward. So if ever you got a chance to jump in on that space at 8 a.m. With Jimmy Grow, that'd be, you know, I think you'd have some really valuable content to contribute to those guys. The other question I had too is we're starting to attract some people in the Australian community from the capital markets, so looking to invest in projects. So obviously projects that they're VC type funding, obviously projects that can scale beyond there. So just a little bit about Stacks Parrots, and obviously it costs a lot to build out these projects. Without giving, you know, what you can say and what you can't, just about, you know, how does your project get funded, and some advice for other projects that started out, say, as NFT projects, and where to get their funding, and how to take it forward.
It's a really good question. I'll be honest with you. At the moment, we're working for free. I wish we did have some funding. So, yeah, look, that's probably something we need to investigate further in order to stay alive. We'll stay alive anyway, because that, you know, we would never do that to our community. But look, we have a few plans on things that we might be able to do. There's ways we might be able to, I guess, attract funding or increase revenue, because at the moment, obviously, like relying on secondary sale royalties isn't enough. Because we're a low volume project, because we're not really like a flipping project, because utility projects aren't necessarily like high volume projects, because once you own the NFT, you're more likely to want to hold on to it. So, that's where we need to be creative, and we are. Yeah, I can't we are. We've got a few ideas moving forward.
Yeah, that's great. So it's a conversation I'm going to have with these like some groups that have reached out to us to have that conversation about them and say, okay, what is investable and what are you looking for? Those guys have already been in the space, have seen successes, or they should be on the cutting edge of what would attract them. I mean, it's all going to start first of all with the founder or product. You know, you may not have been founder, but you've taken on the lead on the project now. So I mean, your connections, your work that you do in the space, you've obviously got something. You personally completely investable. So that's a good start. But I'll do some exploring on that with these guys over these coming weeks, because it's going to be, as we grow here. That's one of the keys for projects to scale to get to that next level. So
yeah, and it's a great point.
Okay.
No, that's right. I can see
I'll
someone's got.
continue,
No, no,
Brett.
I was going to say it's a great point, and I think for projects to become more than just projects, well, you know, like we're our own little company, obviously, because you need to legally, but and all projects should be doing that too, and obviously artists need to pay tax on what they earn as well. But look, it's fascinating. I think moving forward, I think I hate the cliche of this being early, but yeah, it is early. So some projects are making a lot because of just like secondary volume, and others aren't. So figuring out ways of raising and being sustainable are key, and we're grappling with that at the moment as well. I can see someone's got their hand up, so.
Yeah, before we move there, I just want to inform everybody, if you want to know more about Stacks Parrots, I pinned a link to the project on the Jumbotron. You can check it out and join the community. It's a wonderful community. I think Arthur Thomas had his hand up a while ago. Arthur Thomas, you had a question for Brett before we
Yeah,
move to crypto?
yeah. More than a question, it was just to let you know that I sent you a DM because I would like to know more about the project, and potentially I would like to list it on my website and create some guides on like step by steps on how people can mint and the stuff that they can do. As an artist, I find the service that you're trying to provide quite interesting. Yeah, that was all.
A pleasure.
Thomas,
I'll,
can you
Wonderful.
just
sorry, I'll get back to you. My DM's always open for anyone, so if anyone wants to, and it's not just in regards to my own project. Obviously, like my main job, like I said, like I'm full-time work for Gamma. So if anyone has marketplace questions or wants to launch a collection or on ordinals or stacks, or just feel free to hit me up whenever about anything. If you just want to say hi, I'm a friendly person, so.
yeah,
Yes.
and Anna Thomas, if you can post up your the link to your site. I may have already done it, but what was the name of your site? Your education site?
Yeah, it's already there. It's Independent
Perfect.
Academy. And I am very, very intrigued by the, issuing NFTs as a way of crowdsourcing and giving people something they can hold, and then you can use that to reward people after if the project is successful. I am looking into that because I think that's very, very intriguing way of a new way of doing projects like this.
Yeah, I also found that tweet from that Eli was talking about. It's a Stacks post up there, and it's got a thread by Maddie Stacks.
Oh,
In
that's
regards
it. Oh, you popped it up there.
Did you to SBTC? Yeah, there's a tweet from Stacks that covers pretty much everything there.
Has it got the Maddie Stacks tweet in it?
Yep. Yeah, it's got the Maddie Stacks tweet.
Yeah, that's it.
And make sure you subscribe to Andre when I find it difficult to find Andre's newsletter, but yeah, that'll help you out there, Art of Thomas.
Yeah, Maddie Stacks does an amazing. There's that thread, and there's another thread. If you just look through his timeline, that he did on how Stacks basically, I don't want to say relies on, but uses Bitcoin as its settlement layer, and it really basically it's everything that you need to know. So have a scroll through his timeline. He's incredible.
Oh, wonderful. I think we have Crypto Rob's hands been up for a while. Crypto Rob, can you just take the mic and let us hear about you, introduce yourself and what you're doing?
Hey, how you guys doing? I don't have a project. I'm just a DJ. I'm from many chains, but I just kind of got mixed in the mix right here, and hopping into Bitcoin ordinals, and I heard I see Stacks, and didn't really know what the heck Stacks was and how long. I mean, I just want to ask just a couple questions, if that's okay with everybody here in the room. It seems like you guys know about. You guys are seasoned Stacks people.
Yeah,
Is
you
that
can
cool?
ask away.
Okay. So how new is your guys' ecosystem? Like, how long have you guys had NFTs on Stacks and this whole ecosystem?
So in a nutshell, the Stacks mainnet went live the start of 2021. So it's very new. But Stacks, what used to be called prior to that, used to be called Blockstack. And it was kind of like catering to a slightly different service, more about like decentralized storage and things like that. And the founder of Stacks, Manib Ali, maybe if you pin something, Gordon, by Manib, has been involved in building on Bitcoin for a long time. So it was initially was actually more about like naming systems, and you may have seen like BNS, like .btc names, or .id and .stacks and various things. But I gave the TLDR earlier, but I'm happy to do it again just to get your head around it. How it works is obviously, just to introduce myself, I'm Brett. I'm head of growth at Gamma. Gamma's an Ordinals marketplace and Stacks NFT marketplace. We came to life as a Stacks marketplace as August of 2021. So we're about a year and a half old now. Obviously, you know, we're Bitcoin builders. We've always been like a Bitcoin first, sort of like with building on Stacks being like Bitcoin minded marketplace. So now we're, you know, with the ability to be on layer one, we, you know, jumped on that. But how Stacks works in a nutshell is all Stacks transactions settle on a block, and then there's something called the Merkle root, or the transaction hash that represents that block. And then the transaction hash that represents that block then settles on Bitcoin. So every Stacks block is like anchored on or secured by Bitcoin. So that's it in a nutshell. And then that sort of like translates across to how you know, the consensus mechanism works.
That's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, you guys are actually pretty new with NFTs and stuff like that. It almost feels somewhat like my home chain. You know, I'm from Cardano. That's where, you know, I started trading. You know, and like, have you? So I just want to ask, what part of the cycle are you guys? Have you guys did the art NFTs, and now I think I just heard that you guys are going to utility NFTs now.
So obviously, like, you'd probably be across what Ordinals is and are. So we're an Ordinals marketplace as well. But in terms of our Stacks side and what Stacks, you know, brings, being basically a smart contract layer that settles on Bitcoin. There's a whole range of NFT projects on Stacks. Like, there's utility-based ones, art, obviously, you know, pure art, like fine art. There's PFPs, like there's everything that you kind of expect. Or know, you know, from Cardano or Ethereum or Solana or whatever. But look, it's the numbers don't lie. It's certainly like a lot smaller than other ecosystems, but it's growing and it's exploring or tackling a unique, I guess, problem of providing like a smart contract layer to Bitcoin, and kind of like providing. It's like scaling Bitcoin in a very different way. It obviously does have its own token, but that's sort of going to become quite interesting at the end of the year when there's something called SBTC, which is coming out, which is like a way of having like a decentralized peg in, peg out for Bitcoin on a smart contract chain. So yeah, look, it's a very interesting place. It's certainly, you know, or I guess all chains arguably are experiments on top around Bitcoin, you know, whether or not they're trying to settle on Bitcoin. Even Ethereum is like decentralized and I guess like evolved as it is still super experimental. And there's lots of, you know, layer twos being built on Ethereum. So you can consider Stacks a layer two. Again, we were sort of mentioning this earlier. It's a layer one chain in its own right, but due to its consensus mechanism, you can just think of it as a layer two. Like, layer names don't really matter. I prefer to saying it's a smart contract layer that settles on Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, exactly. Because that's exactly how we were. We were doing a lot of art. You know, it was about one-on-one artists, small art projects. You know what I mean? And then we went to utility. What do I get for holding this NFT? And everybody loved it because, hey, you know what? I get value from this NFT. But you know, I just recently I think we're kind of going to the next in the cycle, which is kind of like, you know, because I guess, you know, we started learning about everybody saying, I promise this utility, and then when teams weren't, you know, producing the utility, it's not that they rug, it's just, you know, a failed business. You know, you got all these things, and that, hey, you know, I promise you're gonna get this revenue share or this kind of benefit for holding my NFT, and you know, sometimes it doesn't come to fruition. So it kind of killed a lot of the sentiment on Cardano.
Yeah.
But right now, I think we're in the process of evolving into almost like you know, projects coming out with already, you know, streams of revenue streams, or like web 2 individuals that were already building a business in web 2 that don't need like because we were using it like a crowdfunding kind of thing, you know, and you get a lot of those failed businesses where, you know, hey, they're not bad individuals, they're not ruggers, but hey, you know what, sometimes you bite a little bit more than you can chew off, you know what I mean? So yeah, we're kind of transitioning into that era where, businesses they were already going to start a Web2 brand or whatever are integrating within the blockchain and, rewarding the holders that way and not using it as a crowd fund. And it's actually interesting because I go to E2 and stuff like that, and it just seems like all the chains go through similar cycles, and like it just depends on what part of the cycle that, especially newer chains are, you know what I mean? And the metas that happen on one chain will happen on another chain. It's kind of crazy. So where can I swap Bitcoin for stacks?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at the moment, the best place to do it is on a centralized exchange. Like there's I think that you can do it on. I pretty much that's it. Like there's like things like decentralized exchanges and a decentralized way to do it are sort of being built out. That's kind of showing how new it is. And look, you're right. I think all blockchains have like their pros and their cons. So I think and the reasons for doing the reasons for existing, and people know with Bitcoin you've got all the decentralization and the security, and then with that comes like it being slower, and then you've got other chains where you've got speed and then you don't have as much security, or you've got more centralization instead of decentralization and whatnot. And in regards to projects and the utility that they're building out, I think ultimately, like, art can't rug you. So art is, collecting art that you like is always key. But I think if you're looking for utility-based projects, it's like, I think utility is such a broad spectrum, and what people see as utility or not is going to evolve. And I think the space will mature in regards to what utility is. I think that we're a long way off like really good integrated Web3 gaming. There are projects like there's one on Stacks called Project Indigo that's doing an amazing job with it in terms of like, I say basic, it's not basic because it's really cool and they've done some amazing things, but it's just basic in terms of like what it is currently. But it's like an old like RPG kind of pixel based game, but they've really linked in like when your player upgrades, like that actually changes the metadata and it goes up levels, and that it all happens on chain. So there's some cool stuff happening, and you can actually defeat monsters and get NFT airdrops like in the game. And then you can kind of like unlock them in game. They don't I work for Gamma Prime as my full-time job, but I have a project, and I was just explaining before that through ownership of my project, you get your own metaverse gallery and your own music app and other things. So I think that projects, I think all of that stuff will evolve over time. I think like, this is my personal opinion, I think things like staking and stuff are just a little bit Ponzi-esque, because, just taking your NFT off market to then earn another token, to me, doesn't make a huge amount of sense. So look, but in saying that, some projects do it well, and then they provide utility. Utility tokens have to have utility ultimately. If there's no utility for the actual token, then the NFT is kind of rendered useless. But look, I think all of this all the experimentation is good, and then just as the user or as the collector or the investor or whatever you want to call yourself, you just got to kind of like bet what you can afford and be happy with what you buy, and kind of be prepared for it to ride to zero, all of that sort of stuff. But that's a different conversation. But yeah, look, doing it on Stacks is really cool, because that those transactions then settle on Bitcoin. Obviously being an ordinals marketplace at Gamma now, that the art that you buy or the PFP that you buy, is immutable and permanent, being on Bitcoin. And you might go and use Solana for speed, or Polygon for speed, and Ethereum for other reasons.
Right.
So anyway, I could go on about that, but yeah.
Just Crypto Rob, you could I just pinned up in the tweet too. There's a thing called Stack Swap, which you can swap Bitcoin for stacks. We've done. Have you
used it? Is it work? Is there is the pool big enough?
Yeah. We did some small transactions when we were trying to get some stacks back into Bitcoin.
Okay, cool. I wasn't aware. I just wasn't aware that there was anyway. Good stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's quite new though, and needs users there. You'll need a wallet, a Stacks wallet, which Crypto Rob, there's two main wallets, the Hiro wallet and the Xverse wallet. So you can check those out.
Yeah, so Hiro,
but yeah,
Hiro and Xverse are the two main ones, and they've become like amazing Bitcoin wallets as well now because of ordinals. So you can store your ordinals. You've got a native Bitcoin address for like payments, as well as being able to hold your stacks and see the NFTs that you hold and the ordinals that you hold. So they've been amazing builders as well. I think that's been really interesting thing, Gordon, about since ordinals has come in is obviously like companies like Gamma, who I work for, and then Hero and Xverse and others almost had a leg up because they were prepared to build on Bitcoin because they've been working on stacks for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key there. And Xverse is, I think they're adding a bunch of functionality for BRC20. I think that's all happening right now. So some pretty, really cool wallets that cover a bunch of things in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, speaking about wallets, I think one of the fantastic things I commented about recently was the ability to see my BRC token. I don't have to start complaining to somebody that I bought this. I can see it in my wallet. And Xverse, Hero, they're doing splendid work over there. Because I think I mentioned to Gordon at one point where I was saying like Stacks is new, the ecosystem itself is new in building stuff, and these guys are keeping up with every invention, every innovation coming out. You have an idea, you just speak about it. The next week there's an announcement. Oh, we've done this, we've done that. And it's really a brilliant place to be right now. And I feel one of the things that we haven't spoken about is the fact that as an ecosystem growing, we're still looking for more people to help us grow in this space. So if you're down there, you're a dev, you're an artist, you're a community builder, you're a founder, we have more than enough space in the ecosystem to accommodate you, accommodate what you have, your idea, your brilliance, everything that you're bringing from the Web2 world into the Web3 to make this place a bigger place. In that line, I think on that line, I saw Double T Har. If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself, let's know who you are. And before you speak, I can see Brad Baker. Brad Baker, welcome. Is a wonderful friend in the space and one of mentors and OG. He's been in the Boom space for a while. I know we've been in the Purple Fridays with Dan from Boom. Brad, if you like to jump up to speak and tell us about what you guys are building in the space, we'll be love to have you on the space. And I'm looking at you, Boozy. I still want you on the space to come and tell us about your project, what you've been doing on Gamma, what you've been doing on the space as an artist. You're one of the most recognized people in this space right now, and I feel you should jump up and tell people more about you and what you're building. So to move along, SOWTR, if I'm pronouncing that properly, are you there?
Otter never speaks. I've seen Otter come in other spaces and they never speak. But anyway, yeah, Brad's seriously OG in Stacks. I'd love Brad to come up and say hello, or Boozy to come and tell us about
Just
what's up as well.
Boozy has a lot of things that it should come up and talk to us about. There's counterfeit, there's what they're building in his own project, and there are a lot of things I've seen them do on Gamma and the Bitcoin auctions that they have currently that we don't know about. I am still thinking about.
Yeah,
So Boozy, well, you need to be here.
Yeah, I can briefly touch on that. Maybe he can't come up, but it would be great if you can request. But yeah. So we released. I think I mentioned it earlier. We released the first trust list. The reverse Dutch auctions on Gamma for ordinals, and so Boozy is one of the artists who was selected to be represented at Miami at the Ordinals conference, and he's got through his other artist name Hoodie Black, but we know that it's Boozy. Through what's it called? Through Counterfeit Culture, representing Counterfeit Culture, has actually got a piece of artwork or an ordinal being auctioned right now. So on the homepage of Gamma, we've got other ones, but you can find the various auctions. But anyone actually who owns an ordinal can now, regardless of whether it's it could just be a PFP that you own as an ordinal, you can, rather than setting it for a fixed listing price, you can now set it for a declining listing price. And how it works is you basically, will go to list your ordinal, and then you can choose declining listing, and then you set like a starting price, and then you can then set like a resting floor price. So let's just, for argument's sake, say I choose to start my listing at 1 Bitcoin, and then the lowest I'm willing to go is half a Bitcoin. Just pretend, just make up numbers here for whatever the ordinal is that I'm listing, and then you can set that between 1 Bitcoin and half a Bitcoin. You can set how many I guess, price decreases there are. So, it can be like from 1 to 2 to 3, right up to 30. And then you can set the block times between price decreases. So it can be, 1 block. So on average, 10 minutes, obviously, like depending on how quickly that block confirms. Sometimes it can be slower, sometimes it can be quicker. And then people can basically come in and, buy it at that certain level. But then also as the collector, you can actually set like an amount that you'd be willing to pay for it. So let's say that you see my ordinal that I listed and you go, well, actually, I'd buy that at 0.6 Bitcoin. You can actually then go and then set that you'd be willing to buy it there. So you sign a PSBT, but we don't need to go into that. But basically, a Bitcoin transaction that allows you to say that you're willing to buy it there. So if the price reaches that point, it'll, and no one else has bought it prior to you, then, you'll become the winner of the auction. So it's been amazing to implement that in a trustless fashion, so obviously like that's, really in the ethos of Bitcoin, and has allowed, a completely different way of, I guess, selling ordinals, as an owner of an ordinal or as a creator of an ordinal. It's been brilliant. So we're, first ones to put that out, and hopefully that really increases liquidity in ordinals in different ways.
Yeah. And I think to buttress that, there are lots and lots of wonderful arts coming out recently. There are some I know that they are beyond what I can afford right now. Speaking about the frogs, the rabbits, I think they're around 0.1 or something right now. And the funny story was, I think a couple of weeks ago, I went across it and I saw it at $13 or so, and I was like, okay, I'll see how this goes. And before I knew it, it's blown up. It's wonderful. So the things that Ordinals, Stacks, and everybody in the space right now are building, everything that is going on right now, it's phenomenal. Because if you consider uh, different ecosystem, different chains that started out, they didn't start at this kind of velocity that Ordinals, Stacks are moving. So it's a wonderful thing to even think about what the future holds. If we can start this way, imagine what will come out later on in a few years to come. Having wonderful artists in the space selling out their art, displaying their art. We have wonderful devs in the ecosystem, people bringing up ideas. We have Alex doing what they can do best. We have Gamma doing what they can do best. And it's just surrounds it. It surrounds this whole idea and concept of a community, an ecosystem that supports its member, not just supporting itself on the brand as a brand in the market, but supports the people that are the foundation of it itself. And that's one of the reasons why we have such spaces as this that we do every Friday, Australian time, and Thursday, GMT, to help people coming into the space, new people like Crito Rob that was here earlier, to understand what we are building, because many people complain about our documentations on our space on our websites. They don't really want to read. They don't want to go into the technical stuff. Spaces like this, people that we have here, what we need to help people on board, because we need more people. And on that note, I would like to applaud everybody that is here. I know we've gone beyond our real time. And I will say, I would like to give like a few more minutes to whoever wants to speak to jump on before we close, because we're way beyond our time. Gordon, do you have something to say before we close?
Oh yeah, excellent. Look, it's not too often that we get Brett for Eli Herf into our space nowadays. Really busy person.
Yeah.
So for just even the small community that we've got here, and it has been some of our builders and making introductions to you personally, and to hear some of your stories and challenges, and and innovations you're working on. So really appreciate you dropping by today. Good to see Angie drop by down there. Angie's from Brisbane, just put on a Web3 boat cruise recently. Big supporter of all the initiatives that we're doing in Brisbane, pushes out lots of stuff for us. And yeah, she's also does work with a lot of music artists as well. So be good to see some come over to be featuring in Stacks and in my Parrots gallery. So yeah, you're probably at work today, Angie, but great to have you drop by. Really appreciate everything you do for us. So that's it from me. So thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Gordon. Neta, I've been waiting for you to speak for a while now.
I know, it was so much conversation going on. Thought I'd just sit back and do some learning and listening. So I was just going to say thanks to everybody for coming. I know I've been pretty quiet today, but Brett, you're awesome. Love that you've come into the space today. I definitely will be speaking to you in the coming weeks to maybe talk about a new ordinal collection and this auction, so forth. So that'll be fun. You know, I always
Wait,
need a little bit of guidance.
Neta, is that an alpha? Should I start
Well,
packing my bags?
literally as we're speaking, I'm drawing out some artwork that I've collabed with another artist. So I'm just fine tuning. I guess like a lot of my work has been it's hand drawn or sketched and so forth. So I'm changing it up, going back to more of the vector artwork, so it's more effective on as an ordinal. So the quality is kept heightened and clear. So yeah, working on that type of stuff, and then yeah, when I'm ready, you can't
Yeah,
push creation. You have to just go with the flow.
wonderful. You heard it here first. Start packing your bags. One of ones coming out from Neta, wonderful artist in the space. Thank you, Neta, for being here. And if we don't have anybody to jump on to share their project or what they're building, I think we can round off the space. For people that don't know me, my name is Sam. You might have seen me a couple of places around. I jump about. I'm a community manager or collaborations expert. I'm also a content builder and what the space host for Stacks Australia. And in case you're wondering what I look like, that's my PFP down there. Created and designed by Nieta herself for me, for myself. And it's one of my favorite possessions. I think probably maybe later, if I feel like doing another one, I can sell this one for like, I think 1,000 BTC or so, probably. And Gamma will be the first place I'll auction this off. So
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
now it's simply as I think once I get that money, remember the vacation we talked about. We're traveling the world. We have someone requesting to speak. So before we round off, I would like to give them the opportunity to say. And like I was saying earlier, if you're wondering who I am, that is my PFP down there, Sam TLT. You can send me a follow if you have any questions on Stacks. If you'd like to know how to get into the community, we have a Discord group here in Stacks Australia, ready and willing to answer all your questions. You can just follow Stacks Australia, click on it, and check our bio. You'll see the Discord link there. Send us a follow, jump in the Discord group. Let us know who you are, what you're building. Let's see how we can support you. If it's to connect you with Gamma, we have Brett here. He's ready and willing to see you. We have Nata, we have Boozy, the artist in the space, and we have Thomas. Thomas, from what I can learn about Thomas, is an enthusiast of the old chain, is into article building, writing. Thomas, would I say you are the official librarian of the chain? Can I call you that? Keeping the memories of whatever is going on in the space?
That is a great title that I would love if you refer to me like that. I never never describe myself like that, but I might start to do so now.
I think that's a wonderful pitch. That's a wonderful pitch. I can see SOTTR. I don't know your name. I think it's cool if you speak right now. So let's know who you are. I would like to know your name. I don't want to keep saying SOTTR. Can you hear us? Ah, Don't tell me you're just messing with
Yeah,
me.
Otto doesn't speak. I've seen. Don't even worry. Otto just turns up.
Well,
No joke. I was in a space yesterday. 2 other spaces he did the same thing. I reckon it's cool. He's a cute Otter. I just saw. Nieto, this will be helpful for you, but obviously feel free to reach out directly. But I created. Again, part of my job at Gamma, it's wide and varied. I created a bunch of like they're much more like tutorial based, so it's not like flashy videos. It's me just walking you through the steps, but on video, of like a bunch of different things to do with ordinals. So they've just been published, so I'll be able to refer anyone onto them as well, so you can sit back and listen to my voice guide you through the process. But yeah, they're always super helpful because obviously like education's key. Before I worked in the space, I was a primary school teacher in Melbourne in Victoria for almost 10 years. So I have an education background. So, I think that that's, vital in this space as well. And that's why I think what Thomas is doing is unique because, resources are super important, particularly as, we talk about getting people involved in the space, but it's pretty hard to get people involved in the space unless there's resources for them to go to. So yeah, they'll be, they're published now. So if anyone needs any links to those, let me know.
thank you very much, Brett. I'm very sure people are listening and they would like to hook up with you later on. Thank you, Angie, for being here. We're honored to have you as a guest and a listener. We'd like to see more of you in the coming spaces, same time, every Friday, your time. And to close this up, okay, Crypto, can you hear us?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you. I jumped into this space
Welcome.
really late.
Oh, you're still pretty early because we'll close in a few minutes. So, can we know you and what you're building in the space?
Yeah. So I currently part of 2 projects, but I actually wanted to mention a third project, given that this is an Australian space, so there's quite a few Australians in here, and it's called Layer 1X. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but they're actually a Perth-based blockchain. So is anyone familiar with it or not?
No, I'm not. Are they? Is it a layer? Is it its own blockchain, or is it a layer 2 or something like that somewhere? Or?
No, it's a layer 1 blockchain, and they had the private sale about 5-6 weeks ago, and they've got a public sale this month, and then they go live in August. But like what they've done is kind of revolutionary in the space. They're actually working with the University of Western Australia, and they've created a bridgeless way of transferring assets from one chain to another. So you can literally send ETH to Solana, or BSC, basically any chain to any chain, without losing custody. You can transfer logic, and it's one chain to another. And they're currently doing a tour of the world. They went to Austin, Texas, getting a lot of awareness there. They've just been to LA. They went to New York, and while they were there, they got invited onto NASDAQ TV, which is being broadcast this weekend. And now they're going all over the show, and they've got like a 250 dev hackathon happening in India in about a week. So it's innovation on a massive scale, but the fact that it's Australian is even better.
Yeah, I have seen the guys post that. I know some of the Perth crew. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. There's lots of innovation in there.
Yeah, I mean the thing, and what they've done really, it's probably the most innovative thing that's happened in blockchain since Ethereum created smart contracts. Because to have the ability to send chain to chain without a bridge, without losing custody, is what basically everyone's dreamed of, because that's where all the hacks have come from, through all the bridging that happens. And if you can transfer funds without losing custody, being in full control of your asset from A to B, which is what they've done. This isn't like this is the testnet's actually happened. The transactions have been done. It's something that's actually being delivered right now. So as soon as it goes live, It's going to be a game changer for the whole of Web3 because it gets rid of all that, like the chance of losing funds. That can't happen anymore. So it'll be pretty interesting because you don't even have to build on L1X. You just need to use it as like the base layer to do all transactions. So it's pretty genius what they've done.
Mm. I think that's a wonderful innovation you're talking about there. If you can get a link and we can post it on the Jumbotron where people can check it out, that will be splendid. Because
Yeah.
and are you open? Are your DMs open for whoever is interested to chat you up and ask more questions about it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm nothing to do with Layer 1X. I'm just an investor and just happen to live in Perth, Western Australia, and got told about it. And yeah, kind of see the innovation with it. But yeah, if anyone wants any more info, by all means, send me a link. But I'll just
Yeah.
post it. I'll post the latest tweet they've got up there, or one of the tweets.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think one of the other things that you also need to check out is Stacks, and that's one of the reasons why we're here right now. And like you mentioned, this is an Australian space. Lots of people from Australia, they're looking into this, and I feel like as an investor, not not a financial advice, but more like a nudge in a good direction. You can see, check out Stacks. It's what we're building on the BTC. You know what a Bitcoin chain is. It's been here for a long time. And I feel like as an investor, you might see something that might entice you or draw you closer. So in my own advice, I feel like we can have you in our group because I would still love to know more about you, who you are in Australia. And Gordon is our chapter lead. You can connect with Gordon, invite him to your event, let him invite you to our own events and see how things go from there. Would that be a
Yeah.
wonderful idea?
Yeah, no, I've followed yourself and Gordon. I mean, the Layer 1X,
Wonderful.
they've got an event in Perth. Well, there's an event called Blockchain Week in Perth next June, and I think L1X will be attending that event as well. So I don't know if anyone lives in Perth or that's on this space or not.
Yeah.
No,
Just drop the link in the Jumbotron.
East Coast in Melbourne, so it's a bit of a flight. As you know, Australia is a big place. Like I'm assuming you're originally from the UK, so think about
Yeah.
well, I don't know if you've flown to Melbourne or Sydney or whatever, but it's like a 4-hour flight. Imagine flying from like London for 4
Yeah.
hours east. You'd end up in almost
Yeah. Well,
international. It's a big
yeah,
country.
I think in November last year, I convinced my wife we needed a week away on holiday in Melbourne because NFT Fest was happening.
Oh, were you there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was there.
So,
Unfortunately, I didn't get to speak, which is a pity because I work full time in the space. But yeah, no, it was a fun little event. It was unique. I think that they put it together really well. Nieta was there. Who was there as well.
no. Yeah, no, it were good. It were good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, just a shout out in regards to the blockchain week. Yeah, that's coming up. So Stacks Australia are members of Blockchain Australia through our Digital Playhouse Foundation charity. So we're actually going to be hosting the Tech, Gaming and Web3 and Careers workshop. It's a whole day workshop for teens in Brisbane. It's going to go from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we're going to be doing all things Bitcoin. I think we've got some other guests coming in with us as well. So there'll be some lightning stuff. There'll be some NFT things. Brett, I'll have a chat to you about that. Big week coming up, June 26th to June 30, I think it is, all across the country. So check that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in Australia, isn't there? It's kind of like it's not the US, but there seems to be a lot of events happening like in local areas and like across Australia.
Yeah, a lot of incredible innovation comes out of Australia. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe this is a good time to jump on any events that's popping up in Australia right now for everybody in Australia.
Yes. No, don't
Sorry.
wait. We don't
Okay,
want to wait.
Gordon.
Oh yeah, we don't want to wait for the bull run. There's so much to be built out here. There's so much you can experiment.
Exactly.
It's a great time to experiment. Anyone down there too, if you have communities and they want to learn about developing their own smart contracts for stacks, you could send your devs over to our DMs. We've got Clarity camps running constantly. There's 3 different ways that you can get into learning Clarity, but yeah, we are keen to recruit or bring in new devs to the Stacks ecosystem. So yeah, send us a DM into Stacks Australia there if you've got some devs in your own communities. That it's a pretty easy transition if they are already smart contract developers. But yeah, looking for our goal is to recruit 50 in Australia. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. On that note, I want to thank everybody once again. Brett, do you have anything to say before we leave? Like an addition to what we've been saying or a closing remark? I think Brett is not there. Brett, can you hear us? No. Moving away from Brett till it comes back. Art of Thomas, do you have any closing remark before we leave?
No, I just thank you for the space. Like I said, I am quite new to the Stacks ecosystem, but I am very eager to learn more about everything that's built on Bitcoin. I think that all of this is good for Bitcoin, and I am team Bitcoin, not team one specific part of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So
Exactly.
I support everything that's being built here. I am wanting to learn more. And I was just going to ask, do these conversations, do they get uploaded to YouTube, released as podcasts and stuff like that? And if not, do you mind if I do it, if I download the audio and upload them?
Yeah, Gordon.
yeah, like
From
Thomas say, we're an open community here. So anyone that wants to help us advance what we're doing. So yeah, love to see you work on adding that. At what time are we on every week? At 12 o'clock. Yeah, so that's when we have community builders in Stacks Australia. So that's like actual core contributors. If you have a chance on Fridays, we could invite you into that. That's basically a closed Zoom meet just for our contributors that are working on events and putting things together in the background. You're welcome to join that. I'll send you an invite to that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Nieta, before we leave, any closing remarks?
Ooh, sorry, I was having a battle with my mic then. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came. It was great listening to everybody. And I hope to see you in the next space. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Nata. To everybody in the space, thank you for coming. And once again, if you'd like to connect more with us, Stack Australia, you can find our Discord link on our bio. Just click on Stack Australia's Twitter account, follow us, and reach out to Gordon, reach out to me. My name is Sam. That's my PFP down there, samtlt.btc. And if you would like to collaborate with artists, devs, we have Boozy, is a wonderful artist in the space right now. We have Nieta, she's also a one-of-one artist, a wonderful person. And we had Brett, probably he had some other things to do. But if you have a project, you like to start up an NFT project, and you're looking for the marketplace, the right marketplace to sell your pitch, sell your project, Brett is the right person to connect with. It works with Gamma, and Gamma is one of the biggest. Yeah, I would not say one of. I say right now, Gamma is the biggest on stocks. So it will be good to connect with Brett. Like have an inside person if you're going that route and stuff like that. So personally, I think that's all from me. That's all from me. And I would like you guys to be here on the next spaces. We do this, and the primary objective for this spaces, why we created this spaces, was to target the people that don't really know much about stocks. And I am very glad and grateful that we've seen a lot of people that come on the spaces to ask questions, And it's a wonderful feeling when you have people ask questions and they go back with a new idea of what they thought we are about. And this is a community building every day, every day. And it's good to be one of the pioneers of Stacks. It's good to be one of the builders in the community. And it will also be good to have people with skills from Web 2 come into Web 3 and elaborate those skills, illuminate what you have. And on that note, I want to thank everybody once again. I hope we see you next time. Every Friday, Australian time, we start at 9:30. GMT UK time, we start at 11:30. Jump in, introduce yourself, talk about what you're building in space. And I think the next, we have a wonderful guest next time. That will be the Xverse team, and it will be a wonderful space. So you can jump in next week to learn about the wallets, what they're building, Xverse or Eero. Let's talk to them, ask questions, know what they're building in the space and how it affects your business and helps you transition into the space. So nice meeting everybody. Thank you all for being here once again. If you have questions, send me a DM, connect with me, follow everybody on the speaker panel, reach out to them, see how you can help support their businesses, see how you can support their projects. If you know somebody that they need to be connected with, connect them with those people. It's one of the things that make the ecosystem bigger. So thank you all. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Crypto. Thank you, Arthur Thomas. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Odex. Thank you, Monos, Crypto 20209. Thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome. Till we meet again. Take care, guys. Later.